The stellar horizon drifted silently through the endless darkness of space, its massive metal hull reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. Inside the ship, however, silence was impossible. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. For months, the crew had crossed unexplored regions of the galaxy, following a mysterious energy signal that no scientist had been able to identify. The transmission had appeared from a remote planet on the outer edge of a forgotten star system, a place rarely visited and almost completely unknown. But the signal was not random. It carried patterns, complex patterns, the kind that suggested intelligence. Initial scans revealed something impossible. The planet wasn't just alive. It was home to a species unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a discovery that could completely rewrite everything humans believed about intelligent life. Captain Rhea Alcott stood alone on the observation deck, watching the strange world below. She had survived countless deep space missions, faced unknown dangers, and explored places where no human had ever stepped before. But this planet felt different. Its surface was wild and unforgiving, covered with endless dark forests, enormous rivers, and mountains that rose like ancient claws piercing the sky. From orbit, the world looked hostile, untamed, almost impossible to survive on. Yet beneath the violent storms swirling through the atmosphere, strange lights flickered across the surface. Patterns of movement. Signs of activity. Something was happening down there. Something far more advanced than anyone expected. In the central control room, the crew gathered around a massive holographic projection of the planet. The rotating image displayed layers of atmospheric data, biological readings, and energy fluctuations. Dr. Elena Voss, the ship's lead exobiologist, studied the information with complete focus. Her expression slowly changed. Captain Alcott noticed. "Doctor?" Elena didn't answer immediately. She zoomed in on the data, her eyes widening. "Captain," she finally whispered, "this isn't just a civilization." The room went silent. "It's something we've never seen before." She had seen many forms of alien life in her career, but nothing had prepared her for the possibility of a species that might combine intelligence, technology, and strength in ways the galaxy had never encountered. She ran her fingers through her hair and frowned at the readings. "The signals we are receiving aren't random," she said. "They're structured. They show patterns. This species, whoever they are, is organized, possibly far more than anything we've met before." The others whispered among themselves, their voices low, with a mix of excitement and fear. Rumors had circulated among explorers for decades about this star system. Some said it was home to predators that could crush a starship with their bare strength. Others claimed the species could communicate over vast distances using energy waves, making them almost untouchable. The crew had heard stories of entire expeditions that had disappeared without a trace, leaving nothing but warnings and strange signals that no one could decode. Even so, fear did not dominate curiosity. The team of scientists, engineers, and explorers had signed up for the mission knowing the risks. They had been trained to handle dangerous situations, and every member carried a deep desire to see and understand life in the galaxy in ways that few humans ever could. But as the stellar horizon prepared for descent, a quiet tension settled over the crew. The unknown is always heavier in person than on a data screen. "Captain, energy readings are spiking," said Lieutenant Kamal Reyes, the ship's navigator. His finger hovered over the control panel, eyes glued to the screen. "Whatever is down there, it's aware of us." Alcott's brow furrowed. "Aware in what way?" "Hard to tell," Kamal replied. "It's almost like it's studying us, but the signals are too complex to interpret quickly." Elena stepped closer, her curiosity outweighing her nervousness. "If they are studying us, it might mean they're intelligent. This could be the discovery of a lifetime." The captain nodded slowly. "Or it could be the most dangerous encounter of our lives. Either way, we proceed carefully. Prepare a landing team. Everyone needs to be ready for anything." As the stellar horizon began its descent through the planet's thick atmosphere, the view changed from empty blackness to swirling clouds of orange and gray. The ship shuddered under the pressure, and alarms beeped faintly, reminding the crew that they were not in familiar space. Through the observation windows, dark shapes moved beneath the clouds. They were enormous, larger than any known creature, with bodies that seemed to glint like armor and limbs that ended in sharp claw-like structures. The crew gasped. "Whatever they are, they're big," muttered Dr. Voss. "And they're moving with purpose." No one spoke for several moments. The shadows shifted, revealing patterns of movement that suggested social organization. Some creatures appeared to hunt together, while others maintained a distance, almost as if guarding something. The landing team members gripped their seats tightly, unsure if the beings below were predators, curious observers, or something entirely different. Finally, Captain Alcott spoke, her voice calm but firm. "We're going to land in that clearing near the riverbank. Keep all sensors active. We make contact only if it's safe." "Understood." A chorus of affirmations answered her. The team suited up in protective gear, their suits designed to handle extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, and potential attacks. Each member checked their equipment meticulously, knowing that one mistake could be fatal. The air was tense, with a mix of fear, excitement, and wonder. The stellar horizon touched down softly in the clearing, the ground vibrating slightly under its weight. Outside, the alien planet seemed alive with movement. The crew could see faint glowing patterns on the surface of the creatures, as if their bodies were communicating in ways humans could not yet understand. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. Lieutenant Reyes led the first team out, weapons held loosely but ready. Dr. Voss and the scientists followed, their instruments poised to collect samples and record behavior. As their boots pressed into the strange soil, the creatures froze, turning their massive eyes toward the humans. There was no aggression, no attack, only observation. The silence was deafening. One of the younger crew members, Mara Lynn, whispered, "They're looking at us like we're interesting." Elena nodded. "Yes, and that means we have a chance to learn. If we stay calm, we might understand them." For hours, the humans watched from a safe distance, recording the alien species' movements, interactions, and behaviors. Every new observation challenged their initial assumptions. The creatures were not chaotic predators. They worked together, showed signs of empathy toward one another, and even appeared to care for their young. Each discovery shifted the crew's perspective, replacing fear with cautious fascination. As night fell on the alien planet, the team returned to the ship to analyze the data. Captain Alcott sat quietly, staring at the holographic recordings. The images of the alien creatures filled her mind. What they had expected, monsters, invincible predators, was not what they were seeing. Instead, they had glimpsed something far more complex, far more intelligent, and far more misunderstood than any human story had ever prepared them for. And so, the first chapter of their encounter ended not with battle or terror, but with wonder. The galaxy was far bigger and stranger than anyone had imagined. Whatever lay ahead, the crew knew one thing. They were not here to conquer, but to understand. And understanding, they realized, would be far more challenging and far more rewarding than they had ever dreamed. The next morning, the team prepared to leave the safety of the stellar horizon and explore deeper into the alien world. The planet's terrain was harsh, twisting rocks, thick forests, and wide rivers that reflected the strange light of the nearby sun. Each step felt like stepping into another world, a world that had existed for millions of years without human interference. Captain Alcott led the landing team carefully. Every member moved with quiet focus, their eyes scanning for movement. The creatures they had observed from orbit were nowhere in sight, yet the occasional flicker of movement among the trees reminded them that they were not alone. Dr. Elena Voss carried a portable scanner, analyzing the energy patterns that had drawn them here. Each reading suggested intelligence, but not in the way humans usually understood it. Suddenly, the team saw the first alien up close. It emerged from the edge of a dense forest, tall and imposing with armor-like skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Its eyes were large, reflecting curiosity rather than aggression. The crew froze. The alien raised a limb slowly, Not an attack, but almost as if acknowledging their presence. "Stay calm," whispered Elena. "Observe first, react second." Lieutenant Kamal Reyes tightened his grip on his equipment, but kept his voice low. "It's watching us." The alien's movements were precise, almost graceful. It did not rush or attack. Instead, it made small sounds and gestures, moving side to side, as if measuring the human's intentions. The crew realized this was not a predator hunting prey. It was cautious, intelligent, and aware. Over the next few hours, the humans observed a small group of the species. They saw them interact with one another in ways that reminded the team of early human societies. Some of the aliens worked together to find food, while others cared for the young. The way they communicated through sounds, gestures, and subtle shifts in body color showed patterns and rules. Every interaction suggested a level of organization the crew had not expected. Dr. Voss took careful notes, her excitement growing. They're not just intelligent, they have culture, traditions, and social structure. Look at how they resolve disputes without fighting. Look at how the adults teach the young. One of the younger crew members, Mara Lynn, pointed toward a riverbank where two of the aliens were gently guiding a juvenile away from a steep drop. They care for each other," she said softly. "Yes," Elena agreed. "Everything we feared about them being dangerous. It's wrong. They're more complex than our data suggested. We need to rethink our approach." Captain Alcott nodded, her expression serious. "But we must remain careful. We still don't fully understand them. Misreading a gesture could be dangerous. Keep your distance, but continue observing." The team continued through the forest, noting the alien species patterns. They discovered nesting areas that were carefully built and maintained, showing signs of cooperation and shared responsibility. Some of the creatures appeared to craft simple tools using sticks and stones to dig or carry items. The humans could hardly believe what they were seeing. These were not mindless beasts, but beings capable of planning and working together. As the day wore on, the crew encountered a tense moment. One of the aliens, startled by a sudden noise, raised its limbs in a defensive posture. Lieutenant Reyes instinctively prepared to respond, but Captain Alcott held up a hand. "Wait. Watch what it does." The alien's display lasted only seconds before it relaxed, lowering its limbs and retreating calmly. The humans realized that what they had perceived as aggression was actually a warning signal within the species' social rules. They were learning that this species had its own language and customs, completely alien, yet structured and predictable. Once understood, by midday, the team had made careful progress toward the center of the forest. They discovered small clearings where the aliens gathered, possibly for social or cultural purposes. Observing from a distance, the humans saw ceremonies or rituals, though the exact meaning was unclear. Some individuals performed elaborate gestures, while others responded in coordinated ways. The aliens' actions suggested that they valued tradition and had methods of passing knowledge between generations. During one observation, a juvenile alien approached the humans directly. It was small, curious, and unafraid. The crew held their breath as it stopped, just a few meters away, tilting its head and observing them. Dr. Vervos stepped forward slowly, extending a hand, not as a threat, but as a gesture of peace. The alien hesitated, then touched her hand with a limb that was surprisingly gentle. The scanner in Elena's hand recorded signals that seemed to indicate recognition or communication. The moment was brief, but it changed everything. The crew realized that these creatures could form connections, that they were capable of trust, and that fear might be their own, not inherent in the species. Captain Alcott finally spoke, breaking the stunned silence. "They're not what we expected. They're cautious, yes, but they are not violent aggressors. We need to keep observing, learn their ways, and show respect." This is the beginning of understanding, not conquest. The crew moved with renewed care, taking meticulous notes, recording sounds and capturing video for later analysis. They were discovering a species that challenged everything they thought about danger and intelligence. With each passing hour, their fear diminished and was replaced with fascination. By the time night fell on the alien world, the team had returned to a small clearing near their landing site. Fires or glowing plants lit the area in soft light, creating shadows that danced across the alien terrain. The creatures they had observed retreated to their shelters, their eyes reflecting in the dim light like quiet stars. Dr. Voss looked up at the sky, a feeling of awe washing over her. "We expected monsters," she said softly, "but they are more thoughtful than we imagined. We have a lot to learn." Captain Alcott placed a hand on her shoulder. "And that is why we are here. Not to fight, not to fear, but to understand. Tomorrow we will continue, but tonight, remember this: the galaxy is not what it seems. Appearances can be deceiving. Intelligence can take forms we never expected. And sometimes the most terrifying species are terrifying only because we do not understand them." The crew settled down for the night, their minds buzzing with questions and discoveries. The planet outside was quiet now, but full of life, mysteries, and lessons. The humans had arrived as explorers in search of danger. But what they found was something far more remarkable, a species that would challenge their assumptions and teach them about trust, empathy, and the vast complexity of life in the galaxy. And as the stars shone overhead, the crew of the Stellar Horizon knew that their mission had only just begun. What they had feared would destroy them might instead teach them what it truly meant to encounter another intelligent species in the universe. The following day, the team of humans returned to the alien world with renewed determination. What they had seen yesterday had shaken their initial assumptions. The creatures they had expected to be violent and unpredictable were instead displaying a remarkable sense of order and intelligence. Every movement, every interaction seemed purposeful, and the crew was eager to learn more. Captain Rhea Alcott led the landing team through a narrow valley between two jagged cliffs. The air was thick with a strange scent, a mixture of minerals and plant life, and the ground beneath their feet was uneven, dotted with roots and small glowing fungi. Dr. Elena Voss carried her portable scanner, which hummed softly as it picked up signals from the creatures. Each signal was a puzzle, a combination of sound, light, and energy that suggested complex communication. The humans soon encountered a group of the aliens engaged in what appeared to be cooperative hunting. They moved together with incredible coordination, surrounding a small herd of creatures that grazed near a river. Yet, there was no violence in the human sense. The aliens' actions were precise, almost ritualistic, designed not to harm unnecessarily, but to manage the ecosystem around them. Dr. Voss whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "They're working as a unit. They understand strategy and timing. Look at how they signal to each other without a sound. It's extraordinary." Lieutenant Kamal Reyes, usually focused on logistics and safety, found himself equally captivated. It's like watching a chess game in real time, but the pieces are alive and thinking for themselves. The team stayed hidden among the trees, recording every movement. One of the younger crew members, Mara Lynn, asked quietly, "Why did we think they were dangerous?" Captain Elcott sighed. "Because appearances deceive us. They look powerful, scary even, but strength does not always mean aggression. We often judge based on fear rather than observation." As the day progressed, the humans discovered more about the alien social behavior. They observed that conflicts among the creatures were rarely physical. Instead, they used gestures, sounds, and subtle changes in body color to express disagreement or assert dominance. When one alien seemed upset, others responded with calming gestures, showing empathy and understanding. The humans noted this carefully. One incident stood out. A juvenile alien had wandered too close to a cliff edge and appeared unsure how to descend safely. Two adults approached and guided the young one with gentle nudges and soft sounds. The humans realized that this species had a strong sense of community and responsibility, ensuring the safety of each member. Dr. Voss recorded frantically, her voice full of excitement. Their social bonds are stronger than some human societies. They cooperate, teach, and care for each other. This is far beyond what we expected. The humans continued to explore, taking careful steps to respect the creature's space. As they moved deeper into the forest, they discovered nests and living areas that revealed further intelligence. The structures were built with purpose, using materials from the environment in ways that showed planning and creativity. Some nests were elevated, possibly to avoid predators or flooding, and contained carefully stored food. Lieutenant Reyes leaned close to Elena. "They're engineers, builders, and planners. We really underestimated them." Elena nodded. "And there's more. Look at how they use the landscape. They leave paths clear for young ones to move safely. They even manage their environment to reduce risk. They're not just surviving, they're thriving intelligently." During the afternoon, a more intense moment tested the humans' patience and understanding. One of the aliens, disturbed by a sudden noise from a falling branch, assumed a defensive posture. Its body glowed briefly in a pattern that seemed alarming. The humans froze, ready to react, but Captain Alcott held up a hand. "Wait, watch, learn." The alien scanned the humans carefully, then relaxed and retreated to a safer distance. The crew realized that what they had initially interpreted as aggression was actually a structured warning system within the species' communication rules. It was a sophisticated way to assert boundaries without conflict. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the alien forest, the humans settled near a small clearing. From a distance, they observed a communal gathering of the aliens. Some performed elaborate gestures, while others responded seemingly in a coordinated ritual. The humans could not understand the exact meaning, but they sensed purpose, culture, and even emotion. Dr. Voss turned to Captain Alcott. "Every behavior we see has a reason. Nothing is random. They are capable of thinking, planning, and perhaps even teaching their young morals or rules of conduct." Captain Alcott nodded thoughtfully. "They are not just intelligent, they are organized, ethical, and social, and the more we watch, the more we see that fear is ours, not theirs. We have to remember this as we continue our mission." The most astonishing moment came when a juvenile alien approached the humans again. It moved slowly and deliberately, tilting its head and studying them. Dr. Voss, remembering her previous encounter, extended her hand carefully. The juvenile responded, touching her hand gently with a soft limb. The scanner recorded a spike in energy, suggesting recognition or some form of communication. The humans were stunned. This small act of trust confirmed what they had suspected all along. These creatures were capable of forming bonds, even across species. Lieutenant Reyes whispered, They trust us, or at least they are curious enough to take a risk." "Yes," Elena replied, "and that changes everything. We're not invaders here, we're observers, and if we respect them, they might even accept us in some way." As night fell, the team returned to the safety of the stellar horizon, their minds racing with new knowledge. They gathered in the observation room, reviewing footage and analyzing data. The picture of the species that had seemed terrifying from orbit was now completely transformed. They were not monsters. They were intelligent, empathetic, and highly social beings with a rich culture and a sense of community. Captain Alcott spoke to the team, her voice calm but firm. "We came expecting danger, but what we found was understanding. The galaxy is full of surprises. Our mission is to learn, not to judge. What we have seen today proves that intelligence and power do not always appear the way we expect. We must approach every encounter with caution, respect, and curiosity." The crew sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on the day. Every observation, every interaction with the aliens had reshaped their understanding of fear, danger, and intelligence. They had entered the planet expecting to confront a terrifying species. Instead, they were learning a lesson far more profound. Appearances can be deceiving, and understanding requires patience, humility, and an open mind. As the stars glimmered outside the stellar horizon, the humans realized that their journey was just beginning. There was much more to learn about this remarkable species, and every moment spent observing brought new insights. The galaxy they understood was far stranger, richer, and more complex than any human imagination could capture. And in that quiet moment, the crew made an unspoken vow to continue observing, to continue learning, and to approach this world not as conquerors, but as students in the presence of beings who had much to teach. The next day, the crew of the Stellar Horizon returned to the alien world with a new sense of purpose. Yesterday's discoveries had changed everything. They no longer saw the species as a threat, but as intelligent beings with complex social structures and a rich living culture. The challenge now was to learn more, to understand their ways, and perhaps even communicate across the vast differences between human and alien life. Captain Rhea Alcott led the team carefully through the dense forest. Every step was deliberate, every sound measured. The ground was uneven, littered with roots and glowing plants, yet the crew moved with confidence. Their instruments recorded energy patterns, movement, and the subtle signals the aliens used to communicate. Each reading added layers to their understanding. The team soon spotted a group of aliens near a stream. Unlike the day before, the humans decided to approach more closely, cautiously mimicking gestures they had seen the creatures use. To their surprise, the aliens responded positively. They did not flee or become defensive. Instead, they tilted. Their heads made soft sounds and moved closer. Curiosity had replaced fear. Dr. Elena Voss whispered to Captain Alcott, "They're responding to us. They recognize our presence as non-threatening. This is remarkable. We might be able to learn their language, even if only partially." Lieutenant Kamal Reyes observed the interactions with quiet fascination. "It's amazing. They're teaching us through their reactions, showing patience, tolerance, and trust. I didn't expect that from a species so large and imposing." One alien juvenile approached a human for the second time. This time, it did more than just touch Dr. Voss's hand. It mimicked a gesture the humans had made, carefully raising its limb and holding it in a gentle wave. The scanner on Elena's equipment recorded a pattern of energy signals that seemed intentional. It was the first clear act of communication between species. The crew realized that trust could grow even across species when patience, respect, and careful observation were applied. This realization transformed their mission. They were no longer observers recording behavior from a distance. They were participants in a slowly forming relationship. Throughout the day, the humans documented more about the aliens' abilities. The creatures displayed advanced memory skills, solving small puzzles and tasks the humans set up with simple tools. They adapted quickly to changes in their environment, and even worked together to solve challenges, such as moving obstacles blocking pathways. Every interaction reinforced the growing understanding that the species was not only intelligent, but cooperative and adaptive. During one careful observation, a tense moment occurred. A human stumbled near a nest, accidentally knocking a small. The noise startled a nearby adult alien, which reacted with a defensive posture, glowing faintly in a warning pattern. The humans froze, expecting aggression, but instead the alien observed, assessed, and relaxed once it realized the humans were not a threat. Captain Alcott exhaled slowly. Every reaction they have is calculated. They are not violent. They are careful, discerning, and patient. That is the true strength of this species. As the day continued, the crew noticed moments of empathy and care. One adult alien gently guided a juvenile that had wandered too close to a slippery riverbank, nudging it back to safety. Another group shared food, distributing resources evenly among the group. The humans were struck by how similar these behaviors were to what they valued in human society: cooperation, teaching, and protection of the young. By afternoon, the crew decided to test further interaction. Dr. Voss held out a small object, a simple tool they had used to clear debris. One of the juveniles examined it, then mimicked the human action, using it to move a small branch. The humans were amazed. This was not instinctive behavior. It was learning and imitation. "Look at this," Elena said softly. "They can learn from us. They are capable of observation and understanding. We have underestimated them for so long." Lieutenant Reyes smiled, watching the interaction. "It's incredible. We came thinking they were the galaxy's most terrifying species, but they are patient teachers in a way. Their power lies not in aggression, but in wisdom and social intelligence." As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the alien forest, the humans and aliens began to form a quiet bond. The crew observed rituals and social behaviors up close, seeing the creatures care for each other, solve conflicts without violence, and maintain a cooperative community. The humans' presence no longer caused fear. Instead, it became part of the creature's environment, accepted cautiously yet willingly. Captain Alcott gathered the crew together as night approached. Today, we learned a crucial lesson. Fear is often a product of misunderstanding. These creatures are not violent. They are intelligent, social, and capable of empathy. We must continue to observe with respect and patience. This is what true exploration means. The humans spent the key evening recording data and sharing observations. They reviewed video of interactions, noting the subtleties in behavior and communication. Every small gesture, tilting of the head, shift in color, movement of a limb, had meaning. The aliens had shown the humans that intelligence could manifest in ways humans might not immediately recognize, and that appearances alone were a poor measure of threat or capability. One of the younger crew members, Mara Lynn, reflected aloud. "I thought we were going to fight monsters, but what we found, it's like we've been taught something without words. They are patient, kind, and surprisingly wise. I never expected that." Dr. Voss smiled, looking at the same footage. This is the most important discovery of all. Intelligence, empathy, and community are not human traits alone. They exist elsewhere in the galaxy, and we are lucky enough to witness them firsthand. As the stars emerged overhead, the Stellar Horizons crew settled for the night, their minds full of new insights. The mission had evolved from a search for danger into a journey of understanding and connection. They had entered the planet expecting fear and confrontation, but they were learning lessons about trust, patience, and the richness of life in forms they had never imagined. Captain Alcott looked out over the alien forest, reflecting on the day. "We came expecting a terrifying species," she thought. "Instead, we found a mirror, an intelligence and empathy we could barely imagine. The galaxy is full of surprises, and today we learned that understanding comes before judgment." The crew of the Stellar Horizon drifted into sleep that night with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. They had broken the first of many prejudices they had carried with them into the unknown. The alien species had taught them that appearances can be deceiving, that strength does not equal aggression, and that curiosity guided with respect can create bonds even between the most different of beings. And as the soft glow of the alien forest reflected through the ship's observation windows, the humans knew one thing with certainty. The most terrifying species they had imagined were, in reality, teachers. They had much to learn from the creatures of this distant world, and the lessons would shape their understanding of life, intelligence, and the galaxy itself. The final days on the alien world were filled with both reflection and excitement for the crew of the Stellar Horizon. They had come expecting danger, fearing a species that the galaxy had long whispered about as terrifying. But what they had discovered was far more extraordinary. The creatures they had once thought of as monstrous had revealed intelligence, empathy, and social sophistication that challenged everything humans thought they knew about life in the galaxy. Captain Rhea Alcott stood at the observation deck one last time, gazing down at the forested valleys, winding rivers, and jagged mountains below. The planet seemed alive in a way that went beyond simple biology. Every movement of the aliens, every flash of light from their bodies told a story of a species that had survived and thrived for millions of years by understanding each other, cooperating, and respecting their environment. Dr. Elena Voss gathered the team for one final excursion before departure. "We have spent days observing them, learning from them, and they have taught us more than any data ever could," she said. "Before we leave, let's document everything carefully. Every gesture, every sound, every interaction is part of their story, and it is a story that needs to be shared." The humans moved through the forest once more, this time with a sense of companionship rather than caution. The aliens greeted their presence calmly, some approaching out of curiosity, others observing quietly from a distance. The trust that had been built over days of careful observation and patience was evident. Even the juveniles seemed to recognize the humans as non-threatening, occasionally mimicking small gestures and sounds. Lieutenant Kamal Reyes marveled at the scene. "It's incredible. They've accepted us in their world, but without forcing anything. There's no fear, no hostility, just curiosity and understanding." Dr. Voss knelt beside a group of young aliens playing near a riverbank. The juveniles experimented with simple tools, stacking rocks and moving sticks in ways that seemed playful, yet demonstrated intelligence. She carefully recorded their behavior, play, learning, and social cooperation. These are all signs of a highly developed species. They teach without words, they learn from observation, and they care for each other. We have much to learn from them. The humans spent the day documenting rituals, communication patterns, and cooperative behaviors. One group of aliens performed a ritual near a large tree, moving in synchronized gestures that suggested both tradition and social structure. The humans watched silently, recording every detail. They realized that culture was not exclusive to humans. It existed here in ways that were entirely alien, yet equally meaningful. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Captain Alcott called the team together for their final observation. Today marks the end of our direct contact, but the beginning of understanding across the galaxy. We came here fearing a terrifying species, and we leave knowing the truth. Appearances can be deceiving, and intelligence comes in forms we cannot always anticipate. The humans returned to the stellar horizon, their minds full of insights and reflections. In the quiet of the ship's observation room, they reviewed hours of footage, energy readings, and behavioral logs. Each crew member felt a deep sense of respect and awe. What they had discovered would change how humanity viewed life beyond Earth forever. Dr. Voss spoke softly, almost to herself. They've taught us patience, observation, and the value of empathy. They've shown that strength and intelligence do not always mean aggression. They've shown that understanding is the key to coexistence. Captain Alcott nodded. And that is what we will take home. Not weapons, not conquest, but knowledge and wisdom. We will share this with the galaxy, not to claim dominance, but to change perspectives. To show that even the species we fear the most may have the most to teach us. As the stellar horizon lifted from the planet's surface, the crew took one last look at the forested valleys and glowing rivers. The aliens watched from the distance, their forms calm, dignified, and curious. The humans felt a sense of connection, fleeting but profound, bridging the gap between two species separated by light years and differences in biology. During the journey back, the crew began compiling their reports, preparing to share the truth with the scientific community. Journal entries, video footage, and behavioral analyses painted a picture that challenged long-held beliefs. The so-called most terrifying species in the galaxy was in reality a model of cooperation, intelligence, and empathy. Lieutenant Reyes reflected aloud. I think we came looking for fear, but we found humility. We came expecting monsters, but we found teachers. Marilyn smiled quietly. They've shown us that the galaxy is bigger than our fears. There's so much we don't understand, and maybe we're better off learning before judging. Captain Alcott's voice carried a calm authority as she addressed the crew. We have a responsibility now. The galaxy has stories of fear that spread faster than understanding. Our duty is to share what we've learned honestly, to show that the universe is full of surprises, and that often the most terrifying beings are terrifying only because we refuse to see them clearly. As the stars streaked past the ship during faster-than-light travel, the humans felt a sense of accomplishment and purpose. They had faced the unknown, confronted their fears, and discovered truths that no textbook report or rumor could have conveyed. The alien species had transformed their perspective, teaching lessons about patience, empathy, and the nature of intelligence. The journey home was quiet, but filled with reflection. Each crew member thought about the moments that had changed their understanding. The juveniles approaching fearlessly, the adults cooperating peacefully, the rituals that conveyed culture without words. They realized that fear often comes from ignorance, and understanding comes from observation and respect. By the time the stellar horizon returned to human space, the crew was ready to share their discoveries. Scientific councils, media networks, and exploration agencies would hear of their encounter. The galaxy's perception of this distant species would shift from fear to respect. Humans would learn that intelligence and empathy could manifest in unexpected forms, and that first impressions in the cosmos were often misleading. Captain Alcott addressed the crew one final time. We came here thinking we would face a terrifying species. Instead, We found life that teaches us about trust, cooperation, and understanding. Remember this, not just for our mission, but for every future encounter. The galaxy is full of surprises, and we must meet them with open minds and respect. Dr. Voss added softly, and perhaps that is the most important lesson. Sometimes the beings we fear the most have the most to teach us about ourselves and the universe. As the ship entered familiar space, the crew looked out at the stars with new eyes. The galaxy was no longer a place of simple threats or simple exploration. It was a vast network of life, intelligence, and connection. And somewhere out there on a distant forested planet, a species once feared as the galaxy's most terrifying continued to live, teach, and thrive, showing that true strength lies not in aggression, but in understanding, the humans of the stellar. Horizon had returned home as explorers, but they carried more than data or discovery. They carried wisdom, humility, and a profound respect for life in all its forms. They had learned that fear often clouds perception, and that the greatest lessons come from those we least expect. And with that understanding, they prepared to share their story with the galaxy. A story that would change how intelligent life, in all its forms, was seen and respected forever.